Very difficult to deal with the Canadian representatives. Canada has been ripping us off for years on tariffs for lumber and for dairy products. 250%, nobody ever talks about that. 250% tariff, which is taking advantage of our farmers, so that's not gonna happen anymore. They'll be met with the exact same tariff unless they drop it. And that's what reciprocal means. And we may do it as early as today, or we'll wait till Monday or Tuesday. But that's what we're going to do. We're going to charge the same thing. It's not fair, never has been fair. And they've treated our farmers badly. Look, our country's been ripped off by everybody. That stops now.
The CBC's Richard Madden is in Washington tracking the latest developments in Trump's tariff war. He has the details on the new threats.
Yeah, we heard President Trump really ripping into Canada's dairy system, and this has long been a thorny issue with most of Canada's trading partners, not just the United States. France and New Zealand have also complained that Canada limits access to sell its cheeses or butter to Canadian consumers. But Trump is now taking this to a whole new level with his tariff threats. He called out Canada's so-called supply management system. Now, this is designed to protect Canada's domestic industry from price fluctuations, so it doesn't allow a lot of foreign competition. Now, you'll recall under the modernized NAFTA or USMCA deal that Trump himself signed onto, Canada did agree to open up its dairy market to some 3.5% of its market share to U.S. dairy products. But ever since, the U.S. has been frustrated, not just Trump, but the Biden administration too. They say Canada's violating the deal by imposing strict controls over not just how much the Americans can send, but which sectors they can sell it to. Now, you heard Trump claiming Canada put some 250, 300% tariff on American dairy products. That, of course, isn't true. It's a really complicated quota system, but that hasn't stopped the Trump administration for using, let's call it, alternative facts. It's also not surprising to hear Trump raise it again, but the fact he's threatening tariffs as early as later today is something to watch. Now, this is yet, Andrew, giving more whiplash to this on-again, off-again tariff talk by the president. You'll recall just yesterday, Trump paused tariffs on Canada and Mexico on goods covered under the USMCA for another month, telling Fox Business News what caused his reversal. Listen.
Because I wanted to help Mexico and Canada to a certain extent. We're a big, big country, and they do a lot of their business with us, whereas in our case, it's much less significant. We do very little with Canada by comparison. But this is short term, and I felt that for the good of the American car makers and the MCA, you know, the USMCA, that's Mexico, Canada. I thought it would be a fair thing to do. And so I gave them a little bit of a break for this short period of time. But, you know, the tariffs could go up as time goes by, and they may go up. And, you know, I don't know if it's predictability.
So you heard him there saying it's about predictability. And, of course, through his actions this week, it's been anything but. Trump has gone from saying there will be no exceptions to tariff to then exempting the integrated auto sector covered under the trilateral trade deal to later expanding that to all products from Canada and Mexico covered by the same deal for the next month, and then threatening that Canadian dairy products will be subject to tariffs. So this all comes as Trump being under aggressive pressure from business leaders and top Republicans who have been warning him of the economic damage and inflationary fallout that his tariffs could have in their districts. Listen to this.
Almost every industry in Kentucky has come to me and said it will hurt our industry and push up prices of homes, cars. And so I'm going to continue to argue against tariffs. I hope they'll not go in place, and I hope they won't cause a recession.
So that's Kentucky Senator Rand Paul from Kentucky, and that is part of America's heartland, farm country. And these regions would be some of the hardest hit by Trump's tariffs. This is the heartland of the Trump base, and many farmers rely on Canadian trade, its products, including Saskatchewan potash as fertilizers. Trump's tariffs would add another 10% tax onto it, and many farmers warn their already slim profit margins and supply chains are being squeezed even further, and they blame Trump for it. Listen.
The president came right into office and caused a whole lot of chaos for the first people in line, the most important people, America's farmers. And he campaigned on making sure that farmers would be put first. And here he is making us pay the piper here at the beginning of planting season. So these are some real issues facing America's farm.
So as we've seen throughout the week, markets have been rattled by this uncertainty. And there are also new concerns that this could cause a self-inflicted recession. Now, we saw earlier in the week Trump acknowledging these tariffs could cause him economic pain, but he insists that it's designed to return jobs and industries back to the U.S.
And Richard, Trump's tariff threats are coming at Canada in waves with more deadlines ahead. What do we watch for? Maybe today, next week? Come on.
Exactly. Maybe today. But you know what, Andrew? I'm going to go old school here, as I've been doing all morning, showing this old school, reliable paper calendar here. Because we talked about tariffs and what to watch for. So we could see the dairy tariff today. We could see that Trump said that, or perhaps he said on Monday. But on Wednesday, the 12th, that's when his steel and aluminum tariffs are set. But there's a little asterisk there as well, because metals are technically covered under the USMCA. The White House then says all reciprocal tariffs, and this includes all countries, that is on track for Wednesday, April the 2nd, about just under a month from now, with no exceptions. But we'll see what happens then. And of course, April 2nd is that same date when Trump says those NAFTA-related tariffs that he paused just yesterday on Canada and Mexico are set to kick in again. So that is the next major milestone to watch for, and the administration previewed the next steps. Listen to this.
On April 2nd, then we begin the reciprocal trade phase. And at the reciprocal trade phase, then we're going to look at things like, what's going on with the trade deficit and adjust parameters accordingly. If Canada and Mexico make a heck of a lot of progress between now and then whatever happens with the reciprocal actions will be what happens to Canada and Mexico. But if we think that the progress on fentanyl hasn't been that impressive, then what's going on right now will be in addition to what happens in April. And that's something that the president's been very clear about from the beginning.
Okay, so political talk is one thing, but we are seeing the real-time reaction on Wall Street. And as we mentioned earlier, we are seeing wild fluctuations as a result. The Treasury Secretary also said this morning that the U.S. economy may even slow as it moves away from public spending to more private spending and tariff talk. He described this as a, quote, detox period as the economy adjusts to Trump's America First agenda.
The CBC's Richard Madden in Washington.